Are you curious about bodies, pleasure, and possibilities? And what about curious about what others are up to on the planet when it comes to pleasure, sex, and play? Have you considered what pleasure can do for your life, your body, and your bank account? Do you know something magical, delightful, and out of this world orgasmic is not only possible for you, but totally available to you? If you're ready to be the magical, sexual, sexy beast you know you can be, and you just need the tools to get there, you're in the right place. Now, here's the host of The Pleasure Zone, sensual movement artist, relationship and sex alchemist, Milica Jelenic.
Welcome, my sweet pleasure seekers. Today we're going to be having a conversation that's not new to The Pleasure Zone. This conversation came up several years ago. I remember having this conversation with a few different people that I know. Some of them were and are still healers, and they do have sexual healing capacities. Today I'm going solo on this because why not? And I love the conversation of healing with sexual energy anyway, because one of the things about it is we've all got sexual energy. Whether you think you do and whether you're like, well, I don't have any sexual energy because my libido's low, you're actually alive. And in being alive, there is this orgasmic energy that created you. And that energy still exists and resides within you. So you have it. It's a matter of waking it up. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. How do we wake it up for ourselves? But we're also going to talk about what's the difference between sexual healing and healing, and how do we know what's going on? How do we know if somebody's crossed boundaries with us, if they are a healer and maybe it's gone too far, or in directions you were hoping that it wouldn't go in, or maybe it's gone and you were hoping it would go in directions and it didn't. So we'll be talking about many different things, and even some things that I'm aware of that sexual healing, sexual energy can contribute to healing. So I want to put out a disclaimer right now. I am not a Dakini. So for those of you who are like, what is that? You can look it up. It's actually a term used in Tibetan Buddhism, in Hinduism, and it's a term used to describe women who have capacities as sexual healers. I can talk a little bit about that as well in the show, so you know what that is. I don't claim that. I'm not trained in that, but there is training available for that. What I'm aware of is that I have sexual energy and I can utilize it and I can play with it in different ways. And I have had training in different things that actually allow me to utilize sexual energy for healing with bodies. So I will talk about that. It's not, we'll say, formal. What I've been trained in, as in I didn't go and take a year-long course with somebody and become an apprentice. And absolutely you can, and it's a beautiful thing to choose, especially if your body resonates with that and you're like, yes, I'd love to be a sexual healer. How do I go about doing that? It's come out of my work naturally. So that is something that I will explain a little bit to you tonight. And also to define that not all sexual healing requires copulation. I know what? I know that might be confusing, because the last time I did a show about sexual healing, I had a client show up who was pretty persistent and insistent that this is what they were coming for, was copulation. It was very odd and awkward. And the person didn't quite understand energy at all. So to have the conversation about what energy is, to explain that it's not required, this can be transmitted, transferred to bodies, and it can be moved and utilized that way. It's not really required to be naked or anything like that. It's actually not. It can be a delightful part of it, but it's not required. So when we look at it from the kind of a perspective where this is, these are nuances of energies that we can utilize in our bodies. We have them. Let's wake them up. How do we do that, right? And I'm sure there are going to be sexual healers out there who would love to argue with me on that. But if you'd love to do a trade, I'm in. Like, if you feel like you need to have sex with somebody to be a sexual healer, cool. There is dynamic energy that can occur between two sexual healers. Absolutely. No denying it. And there's absolutely dynamic energy that can occur even if you're not putting your body parts together. So, how do you harness that energy? How do you play with that? And how do you start to play with it without sort of like we'll call formal training? Like, how do you get yourself, even your foot stepped in to see if it's something that you would like to try? And so we will discuss all of these kinds of things and like, why am I talking about this, right? Well, one of the things is there's definitely a need for more healing on the planet. There's, healing from the physical, emotional. There's so much trauma going on, trauma being revealed. And there are so many aspects to me that are showing up right now on the planet that are calling out for healing. So if we can all contribute to this, we can actually probably, I'm guessing, we can probably create change. There are beautiful people out there doing like sessions for the planet right now that are utilizing sexual energy. They're doing different tantric, yogic work, and they're doing all kinds of amazing things. Like Margot Anand, she's amazing, and she does tantric healing, and she does tantric work, and she's one of the first authors, I believe, on, well, I'm going to give her credit for this, one of the first Western authors, not the first author, because that's not accurate. One of the first Western authors who wrote about Tantra in a way that was appealing to the masses. So we're going to get that definition down closer. She wrote about Tantra in a way that was appealing to the masses, where there's, I think, some other authors prior to that that wrote about Tantra, but it was more clinical in a way. So or she created it in a way that's quite appealing to the masses. In her book, it's called The Art of Sexual Healing, The Art of Sexual Ecstasy, actually. It's one of the very first books I ever had on exploration of sex. I got it in my 20s. Prior to that, I was more interested in like history of sex, sexual dynamics, things like relationships and gender identity and sexual identity. Like all that fascinated me, and I learned a lot in university about that. And then I became more curious about what else can we do with these bodies beyond the physical. Like, what else can we do with these bodies? And Margot's work is a great invitation to that. So I'll put that out there. I would really love for everybody to just know that they have sexual energy. And with that, you can do amazing things. How do you know that you have it? Well, if anything on this planet has ever aroused you, even like being in the sun, if it's even aroused you, then you are tapping into sexual energy. There are something like 600 paraphilias in the world, I don't even know, that have been identified. It's probably more than that. And one of them actually is being aroused by the sun. For the life of me, I don't remember the name offhand because I just fly with this information and just like shows up. So if I remember the term for the paraphilia of being sexually aroused by the sun, I will let you know. And so there are so many ways. And if you ever had any kind of sexual arousal at all, you are absolutely tapping into sexual energy. And what can we do with that? So when your body's feeling really happy from being sexually aroused, first acknowledge your body and be like, wow, thank you, body, for this amazing experience. Thank you for inviting me to receive this energy in you and feel this. And sometimes that arousal is not just centered around your obvious erogenous zones. It's not necessarily centered around your genitals or your nipples or like your obvious erogenous zones. This can be a full body receptive experience where you could be in the sun and your body is just lighting up with total joy. And isn't that beautiful? And when you see somebody who's experiencing that total joy, are you happy for them? I know I am. I love seeing people enjoy. Like, I get so happy by that, So likely I get turned on by other people being turned on, which is actually true. I get very turned on by other people being turned on. And I think that's not that uncommon. I like to think that I'm not that unusual, but maybe I am. So it's quite present energy. It's everywhere. You just got to be willing to tap into it. And so once you have it, once the body's turned on and you acknowledge your body and you're like, thank you so much, body, for allowing me to experience this sexual energy. And you've given your body gratitude, you've acknowledged your body. Now you can ask your body if it would like to transmit, transmute, or gift that energy to anywhere on the planet. And you might be really surprised how, as you gift it, that energy actually increases. It's like it multiplies. Not just multiplies, it's like exponentializes. So how fun is it if you're already turned on and then your body is like, oh, I'd like to gift to it. Maybe I'd like to gift to a tree or a flower or animal. And you're gifting this energy with no expectation of copulation. The expectation of copulation can make the energy go really slow and low really fast. So I do know there are people who that is the target, is like, we're going to arouse the body and we're going to get it to a place of arousal so that you can have copulation of any kind, whether it's oral, anal, vaginal penetration, whatever hole you want to stick it in, like whatever's going on there. That is usually a target. And with this, I'm asking you to not have that target. I'm asking you to allow your body to be turned on for the sake of being turned on. Yes, you may feel like that's incredibly frustrating. You may feel like, what do I do with this? It's building, it's building. There's a lot of bodies on this planet who could use that energy. And not just like human being bodies, there are animal bodies, plant bodies, tree bodies, like there's bodies. And ask whatever and wherever this energy would like to be transmitted, transmuted, and, you know, gifted out and be received, let it flow. And even as I'm talking, like my body, even though I'm in a room that's quite hot, I have like these hot centers happening in my body as I'm talking. And it's very fun to feel my heart chakra just like breaking opening. And it's like, it's very fun to me to be able to talk to people while I'm experiencing energetic things going on in my body. It's like, whoa, look at that. Oh, and then my root chakra just opens and, oh, look at that. Now I'm aroused. Well, this is fun. So it's a very kind of exhibitionist, voyeuristic experience speaking with you guys, especially if you're watching me on video. You might find that my face changes a lot because my body is going through stuff while I talk to you. Even talking to you about arousal gets my body excited. How fun is that? So what energy would you like to receive in your body? And like, how do you like to receive it? Is it like flowers? Is it hugs? Is it kisses? Is it touches? Is it like, what arouses you? If you're alive, something arouses you. Even if you think you're asexual, maybe being asexual arouses you. So check that out, because if you were not fully aroused, you would not be, if you didn't have the potential to be aroused. Now, this is just my interesting point of view, that if you didn't choose to be okay, in choosing to be alive, you have the potential to be aroused by anything. That's just my interesting take on life. I don't have scientific backing for that, but it feels incredibly true for me. And you can check for you too. Is it true that if you're choosing to be alive, that there's something on the planet that can actually get you aroused, get you motivated, get you going, get you turned on about life? If you're choosing to be alive, the chances are yes. There is something, even something minute, that will get you going, aroused, and excited. So that's pretty fun. Are you willing to just allow that to show up? So that's kind of a real basis. Acknowledge that this energy exists, acknowledge it in your body, and be willing to gift it to others. Now, how do we do that? How do we do this in we'll call it an ethical way? How do we do it so that you're not crossing boundaries? So that if you're working on people, say you're doing Reiki on somebody and all of a sudden sexual energy shows up, it's always good to have conversations. If you're aware that your body has this tendency to be aroused, you might want to let people know in advance, look, if you feel sexual energy coming from me, this is part of how I work. And that does not require copulation. Are you willing to just let your body be turned on? People get weird about it sometimes and be like, and the more you practice it, the more you can actually just circulate it within your body if you like to. It's not like you turn the tap off. You can just recirculate it within yourself, and you can transfer it into other bodies. Yeah. So from the receiving standpoint, the challenge is to just receive and not try to give back. That's a tricky one, because we are so used to, like, we get something, we give something, we get something, we give something. We have to make it go that way. I challenge you to just receive. And I'll challenge you to receive first from the things that turn you on. And think about that over the next break. So we're going to our commercial. You're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network. And we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. So today we're talking about sexual healing, sexual energy. What can it do for us? How do we tap into it? How do we first know, do we have it? What do we do with it? If we are healers already, how do we navigate that so that we're not crossing boundaries, creating issues with people? One of the things I'd like to direct you to somebody who's actually quite we'll call her quite well known in the world of sexual healing. Her name is Mare Simoni. And I like her blog, actually. She's got some good information on there. One of the things that she talks about as a Dakini, she actually explains from her perspective, like what she provides. And as a Dakini, she says that what she provides is that she initiates the sacred erotic arts. And she's a muse that arouses and inspires those who wish to cultivate and develop their creative life forces. She heals, educates, and awakens the sacred in sexuality. And I think that's one of the more, I've read many descriptions of Dakinis over the years. I've watched some documentaries about Dakinis as well. Well, 2 documentaries, I guess. They used to be on Netflix years ago. And they super beautiful documentaries. It was, the documentaries took place in Sedona, I believe, or just outside of Sedona in Arizona. And the women who worked there were Dakinis, and the man who worked there, I believe, was a Daka. So I think it's a beautiful thing, that whole being the initiatrix initiatrix of the sexual erotic arts. Beautiful. And although I have not like officially studied Tantra, somehow over the years, that is something that I seem to have a capacity for. So it's, you know, sometimes we train for things in our lives, and sometimes you go to art school to find out if you can be a fine artist, and you learn certain tips and trades, things of the trade, and you develop your skills and you learn from masters. And sometimes you're born an artist, and then it's through playing with the art that you actually realize that that's something innate in you, and that you have a skill in a different way than maybe some masters have it. And so I think I fall into the category of, I've been trained by many different people who are healers, and what I found was missing for me a lot of the time was that my body would get fully aroused, and then people would be like, you do like full body Reiki, not just like your hands. And I would always think, well, doesn't everybody do like full body everything? So yes, normally when people work on people, they're doing energy coming out of their hands. My body does not operate that way solely. My body operates with like a totally different way. So once I gave myself and my body permission to allow all energies come out of it and invite that, I found that my work with people with bodies changed dynamically. There was a lot more freedom to it. There was a lot more artistic liberation that I had with it as well. And that sense of artistic liberation that comes from being willing to allow all of these different aspects of you to show up is such a beautiful thing. It's so enriching, it's so enlivening, and it's something that for me has me feel like excited to work with people, especially people who are open to receive that kind of like level of all things. You know, I do have people who are not there. They're not, I do have many clients who are like, I just would like you to work on my foot, and please don't do that sexual, whatever. My foot, I can do that too. I do have the ability to regenerate it, recycle it, but it's a lot more fun to share it, I have to say. Before break, I was talking about that as a receiver, so who can receive these things? The question is to ask yourself, is my body willing to receive this? Are me and my body willing to receive this kind of healing? So ask yourself, the answer of who can receive this lies with you. It lies with your awareness and your body, because for everybody it will be individual. It's not like the only people who can receive this are people who have done 17 years of energy work. That's not true. And, you know, there are people who have not necessarily had even 1 or 2 sessions of energy work ever, but their body is so desiring to be received as a sexual being, and their body is so desiring to gift as a sexual being, that energy just wakes up in them. So gift it too, because as going for a session, you might start to notice that the energy does start to circulate a bit, even though you could surrender and just allow yourself to receive. But even in the receiving, you're being the gift. So it's all very confusing and beautiful at the same time. And the fun of being able to invite that energy in is that it can start to wake things up in a body. Like, for example, it could wake up different talents and skills that you didn't even know you had. For me, for example, the more I allowed this sexual energy to be present in my life, which started in my 20s, it actually started after, it kind of started, and it was a very slow start, very slow. It was like reading the book by Margot Anand, and then it went on for a little bit. There was like a pause because it was like, well, I need a lover to do this. There was self-work in her book as well. And I felt, I don't know, I had some interesting points of view about it. So it was a slow start, definitely. It was like a turtle start. And then somewhere in my 30s, it just skyrocketed. And my confidence skyrocketed with it, and my willingness to just be rejected went with it too. And that I found for me was one of the keys, was my willingness to be rejected and not make it personal. Really allowed my capacities as a healer and as a sexual healer to freaking explode. So if you're willing to be rejected, it can be one of the greatest gifts ever, because you're not going to take the no personally. And then you're also going to be, when somebody says yes, there's a different like value to it too. You kind of regard it differently. And the willingness, I was once told by a friend and colleague that she met me somewhere after I had this revelation about no's. She said that, and I love her point of view, because I've kind of like acknowledged it, that this is true, that I have a crazy capacity to receive no. And in receiving no, it's so delightful to me to see people choose for them too. Like I love seeing people go, yeah, no, that's not working for me. I'm like, cool, I can be space with that. And then for me, there's something inside of me that's like, oh, cool, now I got the secret energy that I'm going to like work within myself. I'm just going to go explore this, and who would like to receive that now? So it kind of allows me to see other options, right? So no's always open other doors for me. It's the weirdest thing. Just like yeses can open doors, but no's can too. So not to feel offended by somebody who says no to you, to this experience of would you like to explore sexual healing with me? And they're like, no. Cool, next. I don't know about you, but I know there's over 7 billion people on the planet right now, lots of bodies going on. Chances are somebody is going to be looking to explore with you, and in a fun way. And it might not even be present physically. What? You can do this from a distance? Hell yes, sisters and brothers. And all of the categories that I don't really have names for beyond sisters and brothers, but yes, you can. And that is something that I found was true when I turned about 29 or 30 years old. And it was a strange, mysterious, and amazing thing to become aware of, that I had this capacity to do sex from a distance, where before I just thought I was fantasizing. But then I got called out on it, and forever grateful for that call out. And that was a really interesting experience. That led to me actually becoming super aware of the power and the potency of, first, masturbation as a power and a potency, turn on as a power and a potency, the capacity to transcend time and space as a power and potency, and the ability to shift reality in a moment's notice by being excited and turned on. That, and there's more to it. It was a really amazing moment in my life that allowed me to expand this even further. So there are definitely experiences that I have had that are not in person, and it's such a gift. The beauty to me is that it is a different energy than when you're physically copulating with somebody, and it can be such a kindness to bodies that can be a gift to the healing. It can be a gift to the person healing, doing gifting, and a gift to the person receiving. The whole range of like level of what goes on with distance sexual healing can be remarkable. And in times like this, like COVID, when you are feeling like, oh my God, I'll never find a sexual partner because I can't even go out of the house without, I mean, we're living in Ontario and there's a lot of restrictions. Other places in the world are totally open. So go to Montenegro and go like get naked on their beaches, which are absolutely stunning, by the way. I love the beaches in Montenegro. If you really want to have fun, go there. They're open. Go there and have in-person sexual experiences, because that country is full of wild people, I tell you that much. I say that because my family heritage is from there. So I'm just giving kudos to my ancestors. And it can be super delightful if you cannot be physically present with somebody, that you can be energetically present from a distance. if you want to know what the heck that is and how do you experience that and how do you feel that and like, what does it look like? And will I have an orgasm or like, will I climax? You might. But if you want to know what that's like, contact me. I'm willing to play with you. That is not a free session though, my friends, but I'm willing to play with you. So connect with me and we can set up a session, because that might be fun for you, especially if you're like, oh my God, I'm so effing horny. Yes. And what can we do with that energy beyond getting off? This is beyond getting off, people. This is not about the end result. This is about what can we do with this energy that is not just copulating, because this energy is so freaking potent. It creates life. It's insane, right? It's so amazing and intense. And if you consider that an orgasm has this energy that will sustain life, doesn't that boggle the crap out of your mind? It boggles the crap out of my mind. It fascinates me completely. I love talking about it. And I'm like, so juiced up and jazzed up. And I'm so excited to hear from you guys who are like, men, women, whatever you identify as, gender, whatever sexual preference you have. Are you willing to like try and experiment with me as a distance sexual healing? I dare you to. And if you actually connect with me after hearing this show and you hear it and you're like, I want to try that, even if it's like 5 years in the future, refer to the show and I'm going to give you a special offer. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but it will be the effing deal of a lifetime. I'll tell you that much. Why? Because right now I've just gone nuts and I'm freaking excited and turned on. So I'm just sharing the world with you. So just saying, I dare you to connect with me and see what kind of special offer comes up. Well, I hope that just has you like, wow, what? I want that. I really want that. Feel that energy. Send me an email right now. Go to milicajelenic.com, toss me an email, and we'll create this. So you're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. During the commercial, I was actually looking for what the name for this sun paraphilia is. And hopefully I'll get that to you guys, because sometimes these things are just like get in my mind and I want to know, really need to know. So searching this up, and I'll let you guys know by the end of the show if I have it. So otherwise, have fun searching it up. So today we are talking all about sexual healing and how beautiful it can be. And first step is like to acknowledge what turns you on, allow your body to be turned on, acknowledge that your body is turned on by that, and then ask, is it willing to gift it to whoever and wherever? And with no outcome, like no decided outcome. There's like, it has to lead to copulation. I would like you to just gift it with no nothing attached, no expectations attached. Things get weird and wonky and kind of blech when there's expectations attached. So please, please let that show up. Okay, so we do have a word in, and thank you, ladies, in the chat room for that. The paraphilia is called actorasti. Yeah, it could be. I believe you guys. Actorasti is the paraphilia for sun. Cool word. I guess it's probably true. I've probably only heard it a few times in my life, so I'm going to go with yes. So one of the things I wanted to talk about too today, and if you noticed in the definition of the show, some of you read these, some of you don't. I wanted to talk about like the difference between sexual healing and other modalities, and the real essence between that is there are people who train specifically in sexual healing. You can get training in that. You can get training in specific other modalities. Now, what a lot of modalities don't offer is the option to invite sexual energy in. And that to me is like cutting off my arms and my face and my everything. So it's just something to consider, that if you are a healer and you find that you actually get aroused when you work with people, it's to learn how to manage that energy, learn how to have a conversation about that with your clients. Although a lot of my clients are very aware of that because they know what I do, and or conversations come up and that sort of shows up. So it is not defined by the fact of having sex with people, although that can occur. That is not the definition of being a sexual healer to me. And it is, though, something that people do train for. You can also be like a sexual surrogate. And I did a show about that as well years ago. So these options are definitely available. And you can use them for healing. You can use them as one of the things that people do usually who are sexual healers will be working with couples or individuals to allow them to explore their essence as a sexual being and as a couple too. And sometimes it's like having somebody there as a third party that can be really erotic too, especially if you're into scenarios as like teaching scenarios. So the one time I was ever offered a job in porn was to be in a teaching scenario, and I found that really quite a turn on. After discussing the prospects with my current husband, he was like, at the time, I don't think we were married. He was like, that's great, but you need the money up front. So like, don't do the work and then get paid. But as long as you get paid up front, Lord love him. He's just the cutest. So yeah, that didn't fly though. So I didn't get the money up front. He's like, well, there you go. If they valued you enough, they would pay you up front. And he's in construction, so he often gets like money for like building materials up front. So he operates his business very differently than I do. And his input's also very much a contribution to creating boundaries, which I like. So it's fun. I like his perspective on things. So I did mention for some of you guys out there, if you're like, well, how do I know if like I even want to be a sexual healer? I think first of all, the question is do you naturally heal bodies anyway? And if you are doing that, would you like some training on how to manage those energies? I do teach energy classes in general. So if that's something you'd like to learn, just how do I just deal with energy? And then how do I deal with sexual energy? Like all of those things combined. Connect with me because I can let you know what's going on, what classes are showing up, and when, and how, and all of that jazz. So I invite you to choose for you. So one of the things that you might find as a sexual healer is that you may find that you find bodies and people who have you may find bodies that have trauma that need to be healed. And so your desire to heal them is very strong. Like if you're like, oh my God, I want to help that person. I'm so sexually turned on by how they have pain or whatever. Like you might find yourself aroused by something like that, is that you might have some capacities as a sexual healer. Your body probably knows that, and it's trying to find a way to explore it so that it can create change and contribute to other bodies. Also, sometimes there's emotional traumas that people have had, and your body might be aware of that too and would like to contribute to bodies who have had trauma as well. It is actually a lot more fun to be with a sexual healer who doesn't have all the baggage. So one of the things to do before you step into choosing to be a sexual healer, even if you naturally have the capacities, is do some of your own freaking work. Do some of your personal inner work, do your inner child work, do your screaming, do your anger, do all of that so you're not projecting it at your people who might be coming to you as clients as a sexual healer. So even in work before I was inviting sexual energy in, I do my own healing all the time. I don't think I'll ever stop. I don't know why I would stop, but it's something that you're always going to find there is something to shift and change and better within yourself. So truly, to me, to be a truly effective healer is to always be on your own stuff and be continually aware of what needs to be resolved or healed in your body, and letting go of traumas and letting go of different things that have gone on, and finding different modalities too. It's not just like you got the one and that's it. Sometimes the addition of different things is really helpful. So even when I work on people with this somatic body work I do, there can often be responses in bodies that are like they're turned on, and that's really normal because when your body feels good, it tends to relax. And like I've said this once, I might have said it 100 times, we actually relax into orgasm. Even though we think we get a heightened, the more you can relax, the more orgasmic your body can be. I know it sounds backwards, and I just invite you to test it out. So that is one thing, is like, how do you know if you are one? Chances are you've probably chosen a lot of lovers in your past that are kind of messed up, and they feel fantastic after you guys have had copulation or made out or touched or whatever, and you feel exhausted and weighed down. And then once you start to learn how to navigate that energy, you no longer feel exhausted, but you might still attract people who need a lot of assistance or are looking for like free methods of healing. Because it is one thing to like date somebody who requires healing, and then you after a while your body just becomes kind of like, I'm done with this, doing this free healing on you. And then I'm saying this because I've had this experience in the past. It's like my body was healing another body for, I don't know, years, and then well, then he left, which was great. But the healing that was going on, although that person did have a capacity as a sexual healer, they were a bit selfish. So the energy was a little bit wacky, and a lot of addiction issues. So my body was constantly healing their body through touch and through sexual conduct and connection. And it was my body became miserable. I became miserable. I became angry, resentful. And I was like fed up. I was like, I'm friggin' sick of gifting. And I like to receive. And part of it was like, I'd rather be paid to have sex with you. Not that that's wrong. Like, I'm all for getting paid for sex. In fact, high five to everybody and anybody getting paid for it. And you're enjoying it. That's even better. I was resenting it because I was like, I'm doing this work for free. I'm doing all this healing work for free. And in some ways, yes. And also, it did give me some foundation and background to understand how to play with these energies in a different way. So there's some gratitude for that. And then it came to an end where it was like, yeah, I've got what I could learn out of this, and now I need to like move forward in life. So those are some things that I've personally noticed. So for you, you might notice like, hey, how do I keep finding narcissists? Like maybe you want to heal that. And especially if you have the desire to change the world, you might be finding that you are healing people in different ways, but you might be healing them with sex. So just see what you're doing and see how your body feels after sex. Do you feel vital, like revitalized, energized, happy, joyful, expansive? Or do you feel like, oh my God, I'd rather die, what just happened, depressed? It's good to check on those things. So if you're healing other bodies, you might want to get some tools to make this easier on you and your body. So connect with me. We can work this out. I've got lots of different tools, tips, and classes that you can say yes to, that we can make this a lot easier for you. So having boundaries with your skills, I mentioned this earlier, was like, let people know that this is a session, this is not sex. That's number one. This will not be contributing to copulation. Of course, unless that is part of your work and you'd like it to be part of copulation, then use my husband's theory of get your money up front and set your definitions of what you're willing to do and not do. And you can look at those different, like your hard yeses and your hard nos. Those are really good to know. That's a whole other level of work though. So to talk about, some ethical sex working, I'm sure I could do a show on that at some point in the future too, how to be like an ethical sex worker, so that you're honoring your body and everybody's being respected in the end. So the other question that I have on here is if you can hone sexual skills. We did tap into that a bit. And what can sexual energy heal? I'm going to tap into that part on the next part of the show. We've got another segment to look at these things. So please stay tuned in. You're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email. info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. Tonight we've been talking about sexual healing, sexual energy. What do we do with it? How do we navigate it? Giving you some tips and tools just to get started. I mean, these are pretty fundamentally small tools, but you got to get started somewhere. Now, if you want some deeper tools, some bigger tools, connect with me. I have a course that I call Sexual Magicism. It does use quite a lot of sexual energy, not just for healing, but also to create your life, to create your business. And I will be working on one within the next year that will be specifically for sexual healers. As I'm finding, I am attracting more and more sexual healers into my life, and more who are curious and wondering, what do I do with this? How do I play with this? And there's a lot of confusion like around it in terms of people thinking that it's like copulation is required, and it's so not. So, and it can be like, it's not required, but it's invited. Like if you'd like it, have it. If you don't, it's not required. So how do we play with this energy? How do we get kind of started with ourselves? Now, one way to get started with yourself is some kind of breathing in, and we've done these before on this show, so this is not new, but I'm going to have my eyes open while I'm talking to you guys. You can have your eyes closed. And one of the things to do is just become aware of your breath. And if you notice that your breath is shallow, just become aware of it deepening. And as it deepens, you might notice that it's traveling down through your body, kind of relaxing your mind and your different body parts as it moves through your neck and your shoulders, and your body relaxes. And then you'll notice that there's this energy as you breathe is breathing deeply into your pelvic area, starting to build an energy in your pelvic area. Now, if you don't feel that happening on the breath, you can also place your hand just above your pelvic bone, or you can hold onto your genitals. You can cup them and just hold them. It's not about masturbating yet, like it can be, but however, we're just awakening the energy. So just hold, be present, and breathe. And be grateful. Hi, how are you doing? Hi, sweet genitals. Call them whatever you like. Hello, my CUNT, which I'm going to have a fabulous show about because I've been reading a great book on history of sex, and that word CUNT is amazing. And I'm not going to say it because I don't want us to get shut down, but it's a great word. So hold on to that. Guys, hold on to your goods. Whatever your definition of your genitals are, hold on to those. And deep breathe. And breathing down and in, and just becoming aware of your genitals. That's really key. You've got them, and probably you only go to them on occasion for a few minutes or even maybe a few seconds to just like, let's get off. Let's get off on this so fast and so hard, and like, let's not have fun here. We're just going to get off. And yes, people tend to go a little like intense with masturbation, and there isn't a lot of like body acknowledgement and body love going on. So I'd like you to get connected to your body, get that root chakra awakened, and move it up to your sacral chakra. Like feel those energies and notice how your body responds, you know. So you might notice that, yes, maybe your body does get turned on. Maybe you're having some flutters and twitters in your vaginal wall. You might find your clitoris is feeling stimulated. Guys, you might find your testicles are getting a little bit aroused. You might find like they're getting firmer. You might find that your penis is getting firmer. You might just find like that even your anus is waking up. I know these things will wake up. And they'll invite you to want to breathe in more. And that's like key, is like being present in your body and being acknowledging like these magical genitals you have. That's like really step one. You've got them, your body's aroused. Acknowledge your body and allow it to be aroused, and allow it to be aroused in your own presence. So start with being aroused in your own presence in front of a mirror. And then this could actually stem into some more parts and things, and then it's to be allowing yourself to be aroused in front of others as well is key, but to tap into that sexual energy and allow yourself to be aroused in front of a mirror and witness yourself as an aroused, awakened, sexually heightened, awakened being. Just see it in you. See yourself as this sexually aroused being, and notice that you have this energy that's beautiful, that you can use, that you can share, that you can transmit, transmute, that you can gift, that you can receive from others as well, and bring that through your body. I know we're kind of ending on an interesting note, but play with that energy all night long. Even while you come listen to the next show on Inspired Choices Network, you can stay tuned and just be with your body for now. So remember that. So stay tuned in and turned on till next week.
Thank you for listening to The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. The Pleasure Zone returns next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.